Hi, today I've got 12 DIY gifts to make using Mod Podge. These are perfect for all year round, but especially during our gift giving season. This is Handmade Happy Hour. I'm Kathy. Thanks for joining me. First up, I'm going to do some monogram pendants, grab some stickers and some light colored paper. I'm going to do this in bulk, so I'm going to teach you how you can make a color copy of this. So go ahead and sticker your sheet with your alphabet. You could also do a handmade font. Make sure it's going to fit on your glass marble, and then we're going to copy that. This will allow you to make the same design over and over again. You can shrink it down if you need to. Now grab some of those glass marbles. These are from Dollar Tree. I'm adding Mod Podge matte to the back. Use a nice good amount, and then you're just going to place it right onto the paper. Now this is not the sticker. This is the color copy of the sticker. And you can see I have different background colors. So you're just going to place those all over the alphabets. This is really great if you're making in bulk or if you're making to sell. Go ahead and cut them out once they're dry. First I do a rough cut, and then I'm going to go in with detail scissors and do kind of a fussy cut around them. Now at this point we're going to top coat the back. That will just make sure that that paper is really good and down. That's with more of the Mod Podge. And you could glue a magnet to the back here. These are really, really cute magnets, but I'm going to do a bail today. So I'm just using some E6000 glue, and I've got a bail. I'm going to glue that right to the piece. Now, if you wanted to finish it off more, you could do a felt circle on the back. Look how cute these are already turning out. Here's our little felt. You could also glitter the back. So let's see, take a little bit of our Mod Podge here, and then just sprinkle glitter on there. Let that dry, and you can top coat with more Mod Podge. And that's a really nice way to just finish off that paper. And then it looks a little bit more polished than just having that paper show. It's a really quick and easy pendant, but they have so much impact because they're so personalized. I'm using bulk ball chain. This is the kind that comes on a spool, and it does come with the little clasps. These just turn out so adorable. I'm really thrilled with them. I think these are great personalized gifts, perfect for girlfriends, teachers, anyone. All right, next let's do some of these tins. I adore these tins. These are really fun to customize. I'm gonna do a little bit of a shabby look on these today. So let's go ahead and chalk the top of it. That's just gonna make it so that our papers stick really well. Once that's dry, we're going to be ready to Mod Podge our papers. You can collage them on top. Now these are papers that I bought pre-cut, and then I also have scrapbook paper. So I'm going to place my tin down and go ahead and trace around it just to get that shape for my background image. This is a little mini collage on here. If you had a scrapbook paper that you just loved the print, you wouldn't have to do a collage. You could just do one piece down. But for today's project, I'm going to show you a collage. Make sure that you have your paper going in the right direction also, and we're going to go ahead and cut that for the inside also. We're going to do paper on the inside and on the top. You don't have to, you could leave the inside plain, but if you want to go that extra little step, go ahead and cut some papers out for the inside. You're going to add Mod Podge to the back of the paper. I like to start with my inside strip. So let's go ahead and glue that to the inside. You can see how easy this is. The hardest part is measuring and cutting it properly the first time. I highly recommend giving it a little test and making sure that it's going to fit before you put the glue down. So you're going to smooth that with your fingers. We will top coat all of this, but not until it's dry and we have all the papers down. All right, let's give that some Mod Podge to the back and place it into position. And smooth with your fingers, making sure all those corners are really down. Look how great this is already turning out. Now, once it's dry, you can give it a light top coat. You don't need to go too heavy duty here, but that will also help seal everything down. And it just gives it a nice kind of finish. So if someone's putting, their hands in there and things, it's going to be a little bit of a wipeable, cleanable surface. Now for the inside, I did want to go the extra mile and added some pearls along the edge there. These are just some lightweight flat back pearls. Of course, you don't have to do pearls. You could do trim there, cording, ribbon, whatever you want. All right, now let's personalize this one more step. I've got these stamps from Dollar Tree, and I'm using some permanent ink. I believe this was StazOn ink. So your permanent inks are going to be Mod Podge friendly. Let's go ahead and tap your ink on there and then stamp out a name. So I did Nancy for my daughter's teacher. You could do any kind of a saying that you want. You can use smaller fonts and type out a whole sentence. This is just really fun. It's a really cool way to use your inks with your Mod Podge. All right, go ahead and cut out her name. You could do individual letters, whatever you want. And then I've got some smaller pieces and cutouts here. So let's go ahead and add those in. Those are a little bit heavier weight paper, so I'm top coating as I go just to make sure they're really sealed down. And like I said, because this is the permanent ink, it is going to be Mod Podge friendly. There's several different brands out there, so just choose whichever brand is in your budget and your favorite. Go ahead and add another little collage piece down. And it's really important to smooth that out. All right, let's add some gems. You know I love to add a little bling here and there, so I'm just using some gem glue there. At this point, this is so lightweight, you could use Mod Podge as well. Use what you got. All right, add our gems across the top there. Those are those pearls again. So our inside is looking really cute. Let's get the top done. For the top, I already pre-cut out my top piece. And again, make sure that's going in the right direction. And then I have my collage pieces. You can find these pre-cut pieces in the scrapbook section. And I know it's overhanging, don't worry about that. We are going to trim that away. And again, since these are heavier pieces, I am sort of top coating as I go, trying to make sure that I get them really sealed down. So let's add a little bit more to the top and really smooth that down. Now I'm gonna let that thoroughly dry. You can see it's going over the edge, but that's not a big deal. We're gonna trim that away. This is really the easiest way to get a nice, clean, finished edge, is let it dry and then trim the parts away. Look how gorgeous that's already turning out. Okay, let's add a little gold band there. So this is some treasure gold. I like treasure gold because it is no stink. There is no smell in this paint. And I found some copper. Those are for diamond painting. So like if you have any of those leftover diamond gems, you can also find these at Dollar Tree. Go ahead and glue those down. To me, it's all these little tiny accents that really make the project pop. These boxes are so fun to do. Take a look at all of the different designs I made. It's really endless what you can make. Now I did these kind of this romantic florals, but you do you. You can use magazine cutouts, wrapping paper, old greeting cards. Really, the sky is the limit. Okay, let's do another Dollar Tree craft. These are those wood mushrooms. I don't know if you've seen them. I love them. We're gonna use a couple Mod Podges and some folk art chalk. There's those mushrooms. These are wood turned mushrooms. I've got my Mod Podge detail paintbrushes and a bunch of folk art or apple barrel paints. Let's paint the tops of them. I'm going ahead and putting in my first top coat with the red paint. And I've got some pink, oranges. You can do whatever colors you want. I was just going with a really happy color palette. A little bit more neutral forest there and some purple. I am doing a second coat. Apple barrel paint goes on very thin. That's one of the things I actually love about it, but it does require a couple of coats. Now let's paint the base of our mushroom. And I did paint that red first. That's just because I want some of that red coming through. So you see how I got that feathered edge there. And then let's paint the base of that. And I'll go in with a daughter tool. You could use a toothpick here or the end of a paintbrush. This is another little tool that I picked up at Dollar Tree. This was in the fingernail art department. And you can see it makes perfect little imperfect polka dots. Now to turn this into a pendant, we're going to use a little hand drill. These you can find on Amazon. I'm pretty sure the craft stores probably have them too online. I'm not sure I've seen them in person, but you just drill a little hole. Then you can use your eye screw there. This is a very small eye screw. And one pro tip is use that toothpick to spin that around because it is hard to turn that with your little fingers. Okay, those are all ready to be next stepped, and that is our dishwasher safe Mod Podge. We're gonna go ahead and add that. And this is just gonna give it a nice durable finish, especially if you're making these for any kids. You're definitely going to want a durable finish. So I'm going to use the dishwasher safe. I'm obviously not going to be putting those in the dishwasher. And now if you want to add some sparkle, you could use your Mod Podge sparkle or extreme glitter. And then just add it to your favorite chain. So these chains are just store-bought chains ready to go. So I'm going to thread that on and look how adorable they are. All right, let's do some bookmarks. I love this collage paper because it's pre-collaged. The first thing I'm going to do is paint my bookmark with some more of that treasure gold paint. These are wood bookmarks that you can buy in bulk. I got this in a set of, I think, 100, and it came with the tassels. So I'm coating the back of it and then just the edges there because the paper is going to cover the other part of it. And then place your dried bookmarker onto scrapbook paper, any paper, magazine paper. Again, wrapping paper works good here. Go ahead and trace around it, cut out that shape. These make really great, inexpensive gifts in bulk. And I'm just erasing my pencil mark there. And for this, I'm going to do satin. It's a really beautiful finish. It's in between the matte and gloss. So I'm going to add that to the back of the paper and place it right on top of the bookmark. I'm pressing with my fingers and really moving it into position. Don't worry if you go a little bit over one edge, you can always trim that up. It's hard to trace and cut and glue perfectly. So don't worry about it, just trim it up. If you're not very good at this or your first time, you could even cut the paper a little bit bigger to begin with and then just trim it. All right, next we're gonna poke our hole just using a toothpick. Make sure it goes all the way through. And let's add some details with some more gold paint. A sponge brush works really good here. Tap off the extra, and then you'll just tap, tap, tap along the edge of the bookmark. It just gives it a cool kind of gold foil look, like you've done some embossing on it. And then we're gonna top coat all of that with more of the Mod Podge satin. Just go over the entire thing. And then add a tassel to the top. It really doesn't get any easier than that. These are gorgeous and so inexpensive to do. With that same paper, I'm going to do a quick craft notebook makeover. First, I'm just measuring my notebook. You can buy these notebooks in bulk on Amazon. Trim down your paper to size. I'm using a paper cutter, but of course you could just use scissors. You could use decorative scissors if you wanted a sort of scalloped edge. You could tear the paper if you want a rustic torn look. Add your Mod Podge to the back of the paper. Then we're going to place that right on top of the notebook. I only did the fronts here, but you can of course do the fronts, backs, insides, whatever you want. And really press that down on those edges. You want that to be good and secure. And I'm smoothing that out. And now you're ready to twine that up. I did not top coat these. You can top coat them if you want to, but it's really not necessary for this project. It's more of a paper to paper. Look how cute these all turn out, a perfect little gift. Okay, next is one of my favorite Dollar Tree projects. I'm using those fake Jenga tiles. This is like a stacking game. We're gonna take 3 of them and we're gonna glue them together. We're gonna make magnets today. So let's glue those together and let that dry. You can make so many of these with 1 box of the fake tiles. And here's the back of a Dollar Tree candle. Oh, sorry, not candle, calendar. So this is a Dollar Tree calendar and I'm just cutting out those images from the back. Let's add some gold paint to finish that off along the edges and the back. And you can see my little calendar piece there. We're gonna glue that down. I love the calendars because they have the cutest artwork on the back. And you get so many great little images and designs. So for that back, we're gonna add some gold paint there just to give it a polished look. If you were making these for yourself, maybe not, maybe you just glue your magnet down. But if you're giving it as a gift, I think it's nice to finish off the backs of your projects. So let's go ahead and paint that. And then once that's dry, you can glue a magnet to the back. So I'm using some heavy duty tacky glue, but you could use E6000 or whatever you have on hand. I would caution against using hot glue. It's not a great plan. And I don't know if you could see there, but I was trying to show you that you can either glue the magnet towards the top where you have your printing, so make sure it's going in the right direction, or you can do it in the center. Let's go ahead and add our magnet to the back. And you'll let that dry. And these turn out just so cute. From 3 game block tiles, you can really create an adorable set of magnets. Okay, let's do a tumbler. You can buy these tumbler blanks at all the stores. Wipe it with alcohol first. Grab some scrapbook paper, cut out your design. Now I'm gonna fussy cut that. Look how fast I can cut. No, I'm just kidding. I fast forwarded that. Now I'm going to use some blue tape just to kind of mark out my design that I want. So I'm going to go ahead and place that down. And now I'm using the Mod Podge multi-surface. This is washable. So this is hand wash friendly. I like this multi-surface. It's kind of like the dishwasher safe Mod Podge, but I do really like it with scrapbook paper and working on curves. Go ahead and make sure all of those edges are really sealed down. We're going to top coat this whole thing 3 times. So we're going to go ahead, got our first one down, and then just keep adding your pieces. And cut more, just fill in the whole design. So I'm using some scissors. This is on those curved parts of these cups where they tend to taper at the bottom. If you cut a little slit, it's much easier to kind of fold that paper over and make it really flush with the tumbler. Now we're going to top coat the whole thing with the Mod Podge multi-surface. I'm doing nice long brush strokes. I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to do this a couple more times just to make sure it is really sealed. I do not put this in the dishwasher. This is a hand wash, so if you're giving this as a gift, add a little note that says, please hand wash me. And I think it's a good idea to have your brush strokes going all in the same direction. Now, once it's dry, it's gonna look like this, so cute. And I wanna show you how I made that little charm. I got some sunflowers at the craft store. I'm gonna add it to some chain. This is kind of like a charm bracelet for your tumbler. Let's add some charms, just using a jump ring there. And then I'm going to add a clasp, and then you can just clasp that right on to your tumbler. You could also add some alphabet charms there. Okay, let's do some crushed glass jewelry. These are jewelry blanks. I don't know if you've seen these at the craft store, but they're kind of like pendants, and they have wells. They make bracelets, rings, all kinds. Let's grab our Mod Podge detail brushes. I love using some recycled egg cartons for this as ring drying racks. So cut some slits. You're gonna put your rings in there before you get started. And let's roll up a towel for our bracelets. This is what crushed glass looks like. It is little bits of kind of rocks that have been tinted, and we're gonna put our Mod Podge right into the well of that pendant. Sprinkle that in there, give it a tap. This isn't the kind of glass that's gonna actually cut you. Now tap off any extra, and then let's seal with more Mod Podge. Add a little bit more to the top to fill that up. And then once it's dry, give it another seal just to seal that in. This is a really quick and easy way to make some jewelry. And look at how gorgeous they turn out. I love all of that cute sparkle. You can do bracelets. For the bracelets, you're gonna just do the same thing. I've put it on the towel just to hold the bracelets upright so they dry nicely. Tap your little crushed glass in there, and there's those rings in the egg carton. This egg carton trick works for many different projects, but I especially love it for when I'm doing ring jewelry projects. And look at how gorgeous it all is once it's dry. It's a really cute boutique look. Okay, now this is a little bit more difficult. We're gonna use some resin. I've got a 2-part resin from Mod Podge, alcohol inks, all sorts of different things that you can add in, chunky glitters, fine glitters, mica powders, And this is our 2-part resin. Safety first with this. I am using proper gear and gloves. So you're gonna mix equal parts of the resin, and you're gonna want a timer. You're gonna mix that for 3 minutes. I do have complete full tutorial videos on my YouTube channel with Resin 101. So I'm mixing a lot here because I'm doing a lot of projects. You're gonna want those to be equal parts. And then you're going to use a very, I don't know what the right word is. You're going to mix it by scraping the edges. So I like to use a large popsicle stick here. You're gonna really scrape it. You don't want any sticking to the sides. And you're gonna blend that for 3 minutes. Now, once it's blended, you are ready to add your embellishments. So I'm gonna do some mica powder here, and I've got alcohol inks, add a little bit of the resin to that. I know you're seeing those bubbles, don't worry about that. Those bubbles are gonna die down. Okay, let's give that a good mix. You can see we've got a gorgeous white pearly color going on there. And this is our mold. This is silicone mold. I have not put any kind of release in there. Check with the mold that you have, make sure it's a silicone mold, and you're gonna pour that right in. This is a barrette mold. Give it a tap. Now let's tint that. So you see I've added the pearl, and then I added some alcohol ink. So you can layer up your embellishments. You could even add a little glitter in here. Go ahead and pour that into our mold. And these clip molds, a lot of times you can buy them with hair clips. This is rubbing alcohol. I'm gonna give it a tap, and then I'm gonna spray it with the rubbing alcohol, and that will release those bubbles. Now for my scraps that I have, my extra resin, I love using one of these agate slice molds and a geode mold like this. I go ahead, I dump in all of my little extras when I'm working on a project, and they turn out so beautiful. I'm gonna show you those at the end. So go ahead and add some chunky glitter here. Let's mix those up. And I've got some earring molds, so let's go ahead and add some chunky glitter to the earring molds. I highly recommend making sure that you have earring molds, that you have two, a left and a right at the same time. So when you're mixing, you're not mixing a second time, because no batch ever turns out the same. Even if you were to measure, they always turn out a tiny bit different. There's my extra. Gonna go ahead and pour that right into my mold. I don't like to waste any resin. It's expensive. It takes a long time to mix up. You need to wear safety gear. So if I've got some going on, I definitely want to use it into a scrap project. So always keep extra molds on hand to be able to use the scrap. You can see there I just tapped in some mica powder. I'm just mixing that around with my popsicle stick. Okay, let's move on to some more. I've got my resin here. Let's take a look at what it looks like with just an alcohol ink. This is gonna dry more clear, translucent, but with the color. I love this gorgeous color. Nice deep caramel, and then let's hit that with some of that green. These were kind of a tropical look that I was going for here. And let's go ahead and pour that in the mold. So I didn't mix it too much because I was hoping to get some lines and some streaks. Again, you never really know until it actually comes out of the mold. But with practice, you can really create some very cool looks with resin. If you go over a little bit, you don't need to worry about that because you can always trim that away at the end once it's hardened. Let's add our extra there. I told you I'm not going to throw out any of this resin. Who wants to throw out supplies? Look how gorgeous it turns out. Okay, let's do some more earrings. Here I've got just copper glitter. That's ultra fine glitter. And you can see that is so sparkly. So let's go ahead and pour that into one of the molds. And if resin isn't your thing, you just skip ahead in this video and go to the next project. There's 12 different ideas I'm sharing in this video today. I do love mixing this stuff up with resin, but I understand that it's not everybody's thing. Now here is that same color, but a much lighter version. I'm not using very much at all. So we'll use that for the base of the earring. And that's going to end up just looking like this gorgeous, lightweight earring. Do another little mix here. And again, you can just kind of use your imagination, mix things together. There's no right or wrong way to do this. The most important thing is wearing safety equipment and spraying it with alcohol like you just saw me do so that you remove those air bubbles. Let's add some more of our scrap in there. The more colors, the more textures, the more layers, the more beautiful these agate slices turn out. And this is a geode mold, so this is going to make one big chunky geode. All right, I'm going to top that off with more. And if you needed to, you could top the whole thing off with clear, like I'm doing here. And then you're going to let that dry overnight, 24 hours. And look how cool they look when they're all popping out. I did so many different colors and textures. Once they're all popped out, you can turn them into jewelry. And of course, our little geodes and our agates. Those are just little home decor pieces. There's that one where I did the 2 different tones. And there is my scrap geode. I love it. Wow, those are turning out really cool. Okay, let's turn this into some jewelry. You can see the different pieces, the different ways that they turn out once they're hard. If you get something on the edge that you need to sand off, you could sand it. There's that light colored one and the dark colored. So that's the same glitter with a lot of glitter in the top piece, a little bit in the bottom piece. Let's take a look at the geode. You can see all the different pieces that I used. Or I should say agate slice. Sorry, the geodes are our big chunky pieces. There's our big chunky pieces. No 2 of these will ever turn out the same. That's what makes them so special. Now let's add some jump rings and ear wires. Open up your jump rings. Most of these types of molds come with the hole attached already, so you don't need to do any drilling. Go ahead and get that closed up. Open it up. Add your pieces, link them together, and add some ear wires. You want to open them from side to side. Don't ever pull those apart. And for this one, you want to make sure your ear wires are going in the proper direction. So I've got the ear wire on the top, looking so cute. And then we will attach that to our bottom piece. I'm using gold components here, but you could use silver, copper, whatever colors you want. Very simple to do. For those barrettes, you're just going to use some heavy duty glue. Add that to a barrette base. These are specifically designed to work with the molds. And then you'll glue that right onto your piece of resin. And it's really that simple. So customizable. Next, let's work with some dried flowers and the crystal clear Mod Podge. This is a newer formula and it's really cool because you can actually see where you're placing things. So I'm using one of these acrylic frames. It comes with the wood around it, and I'm just applying the Mod Podge crystal clear. And then I'm using some tweezers to go ahead and place dried flowers down. These are real pressed dried flowers. I purchased these in bulk. I did not make them, but you certainly could press your own flowers. So you're gonna just place them right into the crystal clear Mod Podge. It's almost hard to see it because it's so clear. Well, you can see it there. So go ahead and figure out your design pattern. You're just gonna place those right into the Mod Podge. If this wasn't the crystal clear formula, it will still work. It also dries clear. But for these types of projects, it's a little easier to use the clear formula because you can see your placement really well. You can see I've got some little tiny ones, so I'm filling in little pockets. And you're just going to continue adding your flowers until the whole thing is filled in. Next, you're going to let that dry. And once it's dry, you're going to go in and top coat the flowers just to really seal them down. And it's hard to see because I'm using the crystal clear formula. We're gonna let that dry, and then we're gonna go in and do a final top coat over the whole entire thing. And that will really give it a nice flat look, so it won't be too raised up. Look how gorgeous these turn out. They're really so pretty, and there's so many different patterns and styles that you can do. These are great hanging in a window or even on a wall. Okay, next let's do a journal. Grab one of those journals and some scrapbook paper. This makes a gorgeous gift for any of your friends who like to journal. For this, I'm going to use the paper formula of Mod Podge. I got a punch board here, some tags. I think I picked up most of these supplies at Michael's. This is Artist Loft. This is one of those journal watercolor notebook type things. Let's go ahead and add a cover. I cut that to size. I'm using the Mod Podge paper on the top. Mod Podge paper is a paper to paper formula. So it's acid free, and it's gonna dry a tiny bit different than just your gloss to gloss. It's really nice when you're gonna be working with inks over it and that type of thing. I'm using an old credit card here just to smooth that down like a brayer. And then this is a punch board where I'm gonna create some words. You can just line up your letters that you want and punch out whatever you want it to say. You can use an inspirational quote here, someone's name, a season, a year, a vacation. Let's add some Mod Podge. I'm just creating a border around it by Mod Podging that, again, with the paper formula onto the paper. So the paper formula is a favorite with a lot of people who collage. If you didn't have the paper formula on hand, a good alternative would be matte or satin. Now, once it's dry, you can go ahead and cut out your little pieces. These are kind of like graffiti collage pieces. And then I'm gonna Mod Podge those to the front of our journal. I'm gonna do the inside pages too. If journaling is not your thing, scoot ahead to the next project or rewind to rewatch your favorite project from this video. These are really cool for giving as gifts because it's very time consuming to make one, but when people get it, it's like an heirloom piece. If you know anyone who's going through a hardship or a change, this is a great place where they can journal all of their feelings and accomplishments and how they're getting through something. You could also create this as a cookbook or a place where people jot down any kind of a journey. Could be a weight loss journey, a fitness journey. And then I'm gonna top coat the whole thing with more of the Mod Podge, and that'll really seal those down. This is gonna dry non-sticky, but it will take several days before it's fully dry. All right, let's go ahead and add some gems because you know I love to add a little bling. So I'm just gonna detail out some of the designs on the scrapbook paper, add a little dot of glue, and add a little gem. Now let's start doing those inside pages. You can see I want to do a piece on the inside cover. So I cut that to size. Oh yeah, let's make sure that's going in the right direction. And I'm gluing that down. Now for the inside part, we're gonna create some different pages and pockets, dividers, lots of different things. Look at these gorgeous papers. These were all from a paper pack. And all of the ideas I'm gonna share with you right now are inspirational. So you do you. I do like to use a little bit of wax paper in between where I'm working and the other sheets, just in case I get some Mod Podge that spills over. So let's go ahead and glue this piece down. And you can see that I have cut this piece a little bit larger on the edge. This is gonna be a divider sheet. So go ahead and glue that down. And you can see that overhang there. And I'm not gonna be cutting that off. That is going to turn into the divider portion. So for this one, I think it's probably about 1/3 of an inch. You could do it bigger, smaller. It just creates like a natural tab. So let's glue the back to that. Again, I'm doing a lot of gluing here. All of this is gonna dry clear. It's gonna dry non-toxic and non-sticky, but you do wanna give it a couple of days to fully cure. So that's our first little flap there. And then you can skip ahead a few pages. You could do more of those types of pages. You could do pocket pages. Let's dive in and create some other pages. So for this one, I've got a single page here. Let's give it a background. This one I cut a tiny bit bigger also. Let's go ahead and flip that over and add another piece. The paper formula is very forgiving. It's a little bit thinner, and I really love how it works with all the different paper pieces. You can layer up onto that and collage more. So here's a divider sheet, but I'm adding a graphic to it. And you can add tags or other little paper embellishments. This is a cool way where someone could jot down a year or a little saying or something like that. Let's top coat that and get that really sealed down. Now, if you have any die cuts or things like that, you can go ahead and create your own collage pieces. You can buy collage pieces. In the scrapbooking section, they usually have different things, and you certainly could even use stickers here. And if you wanted to seal those stickers down, you could do a coat of Mod Podge on top. But look how pretty this is. Even that delicate lace work on the butterfly, the Mod Podge will work beautiful with that. You can do a tearing technique. I always love a good tearing technique. So just tear those cord papers and you get that beautiful edge. And again, you can just layer it up. All different kinds of scrapbook papers and colors and prints. This is going to be a little pocket, so I'm only adding the Mod Podge along the edges. So you see that's how you can quickly create just a little torn edge pocket. And once it's dry, slip a little tag in there. You can add a diagonal pocket by doing the same technique, tearing. Of course, you could always use scissors, decorative scissors, or a trimmer here. We're just going to add that Mod Podge along the corner edge, not the torn edge, and glue that down, and now you've got a little side pocket. You can add more details on top of it. This is really just inspiration for you and thinking about how you can layer up different papers. These make gorgeous gifts. It's almost like giving someone a scrapbook that is ready to go. Now let's take a look at all of the pages. This has been so fun to make. I love this. I'm going to be giving this to my sister at Christmas. She has really been getting into journaling, so I think this is going to be the perfect gift for her. Places where she can write her prompts, add pictures, whatever. All right, now let's head to the beach. Next, I'm going to show you Napkin Decoupage seashells. These are awesome little trinket dishes, ring dishes. You can even add some little wrapped candies to the top of them. Grab some paper napkins and some large seashells. I think there's a saying about that. I'm going to use Mod Podge satin for this, and I'm only using the top printed ply of the napkin. So separate your napkin plies. Find the part of the napkin that you want to feature on your shell. Give that a rough cut. You want to have enough room around it so that you've got enough napkin to go into the natural curves of the shell. Now I'm doing the inside of this because I want it to be a dish, but you could certainly do this on the reverse side. You could even do both sides. So add your Mod Podge to the inside of the shell. This is just water. I'm going to lightly mist my napkin. That's going to help with wrinkles and help with those curved edges. Place it right onto the shell. Now I already have the Mod Podge down. Tap gently with your fingers. You don't want to be too rough. This is still a napkin. And then I'm using my paintbrush to gently push the napkin into the natural ridges on the shell. I'm not going to worry about trimming away right now. We're going to go ahead and let that dry first. Just smooth with your fingers. And you can really see the stunning details of that shell popping through. Okay, now go ahead and peel away the edge there. If you need to use a little sanding sponge or a nail file, you can do that as well. And make sure that's thoroughly dry. And once it is, we can go ahead and top coat. Top coat with more. That will really secure that down. If you wanted to, you could use the dishwasher safe formula here too. Now I'm doing some gold edging to make it look like the old vintage gold foil. That's just some more of that treasure gold paint. Just paint that along the edge. That just kind of finishes it off. You don't have to do this. You could do gold, silver. You could leave it plain. I've seen some people match a color to the napkin. That's quite beautiful too. You could dip the edges in glitter. There's so many different ways to finish these off. I know a lot of people like to make ornaments with these, so you could add a ribbon hanger to the back and create a holiday ornament. But I love these as a little trinket ring dish. Just loading up some gold there. This paint goes on pretty thick, so you're only going to use 1 or 2 coats at the most to get a great full coverage look. And once it's dry, they really turn out so beautiful. I just absolutely love them. They're so stunning, and all these different prints look so great. Thank you so much for joining me for 12 DIY gifts today. If you like these projects, make sure you subscribe, and thank you for being here. I love my YouTube channel, and I love you all coming back.